be hard to get parts. So the F-250's on hold, waiting for basically valve cover gaskets and valley assembly gaskets. So figured I'll move on to the tractor. Got all the parts for that. So showing the engine oil pan, it's dented up and appears to be leaking. Normally I probably wouldn't worry too much about it, but since I haven't changed the oil yet since I've gotten it, and I got out the filters and everything, and the previous owner actually gave me a new oil pan to put on it that he never got around to do it. So I got the gasket for it. So I'm going to drain the oil, drop the pan, and replace it. We'll put it all back together. Now, including that, I've already flushed the cooling system. I just got to add the new red coolant to it, and then it'll be updated. It's been flushed and cleaned several times. Looks really good. Then I changed the hydraulic fluid after I replaced those two hoses. Did not record anything on that one, but it's pretty straightforward. It takes about 10 gallons of hydraulic oil. I'm using John Deere's recommended fluid, John Deere brand fluid, on everything except for the engine oil. I'm doing my Rotella 1540 standard non-synthetic. So, and I also need to pull that down and replace it. That's what they call the reverser. So the forward clutches are shot in it. That's why I got a good deal on the tractor. I already got the rebuild kit for it, which includes front and rear clutches, seals, bearings. Also ordered a new torque converter because I wasn't sure if there's much debris in the torque converter itself, and I got a good deal on everything. So I'm going to replace the torque converter, rebuild the reverser. So, and then I got the fluid for the front drive axle. We'll replace that. And I got the fluid for the rear axle. Trans-axle, I guess you call it on these. So we're going to do a full service on this. Once we get the full service done, I want to, on a not so windy day, do a complete pressure wash of it, clean it all up so I can see, do a better inspection of what hoses need to be replaced. I know there's quite a few. They're not leaking, but they've chafed. So I'll just kind of probably every month replace 2 hoses at a time. Then I want to check all your hydraulic cylinders on here as well, see what's leaking on those. I know the front one on the bucket tilt feature is leaking a bit, so I'll replace that. So that's the plan. Stay tuned. I'll try to do this. It's going to be all done outside. I'm not going to record everything, but I'll try to get some good angles and anything that I find that might help somebody else doing it, I'll let you know. I don't know if my transmission jack will reach up to that point. Don't know how heavy it is, but like I said, it's going to be a learning opportunity. So stay tuned. Project, the kids call this the Scorpion, so we'll say the Project Scorpion is getting ready to start. I think it'll be fun. We got the oil pan down. No sludge or any signs of damage inside, so it's clean. So it's used oil. Didn't record the process because it's just a whole lot of 9/16 bolts you got to pull off, and that's it. Nothing moved out of the way. Bottom side of the engine. Pickup tube. I didn't have to move anything out of the way. No cross members to deal with like you have to on a car or truck. Just drop your 9/16 bolts out of there, and there you go. Feels like it was welded. So they might have popped a hole and welded it. So I'm going to clean the old gasket material off, get it all cleaned up, put a new gasket on there, slap the oil pan on, and put some oil in it. Move on to the reverser.
got the new oil pan on there. Got everything cinched down. Didn't have any John Deere yellow, so I'm going to go by and pick up some John Deere paint next time I'm in town. Highway's closed right now due to a forest fire, so once I can get in town, get some paint, I'm going to paint that and the reverser before I put it back in.
Alright, we're going to go ahead and get the reverser pulled out of the John Deere. I've already drained the fluid out of the reverser, disconnected some hoses. These are pretty rotten, so I'm just going to replace them while I got the reverser out. I should have it. Looks about a 1/2 inch hose, so I'll be able to get that. These are low pressure hose clamps, so I'm going to cut this off, disconnected that one, disconnected the solenoids I could see for the rear drive line. There's no slip joint in this, so it was kind of a challenge. I pulled the two brackets, the two clamps that hold the half of the U-joint on, and to get it off I actually pulled the U-joint cap off, and that gave me enough clearance to slide it past the yoke on the reverser. That way once I pull this off, it'll have to slide back out of the torque converter and then I'll drop it down. So, and then I'll pull the torque converter bell housing off after I get that off. I don't want to do it all in one piece just because I don't know how heavy and awkward it's going to be. So I'm going to, there's 6 bolts it looks like that holds this on to the bell housing, 3 on each side. So I'm going to get those out, get my transmission jack up underneath it just to make sure I'm prepared in case it's awkward or heavy, and see if we can get this thing out and get it rebuilt and put back in. We got to use this. I got a lot of irrigation line to run, so let's get to it. Okay, so got my transmission jack up underneath the reverser. I got the 6 bolts that hold it onto the bell housing. There they are. There's 6 of them, 3 on each side. Pretty easy to locate. Even got it separated from the bell housing a little bit. But what I'm going to have to do is take out the dipstick tube, this right here, which also means I got to disconnect the vent tube. It's just a hose clamp up there. So I'm going to disconnect that, take that off, and then check to see what else I might have to disconnect. Looks like there's a plug. Oh, that's a dead end plug up there. Doesn't plug into anything. Got my hoses disconnected. You can see all I did was push the drive line that way, so it gives me plenty of clearance to slide her back with the jack. Got it on some plywood, so as I move it back and lower it, should work good. So let me get that hose clamp off, and we got the reverser out. So this is the dipstick tube. You gotta take this out, otherwise it hits a hydraulic hose. I did have to take out the return hydraulic hose to the tank. Just disconnect one end and move it out of the way. You have wire plug here to unplug, 2 here to unplug, 1 there, and let's see, 1 right here, and then 3 hose connections. There's the other side. So what I'm going to do now is just plug off some of the hoses connections and then pressure wash it just to get it cleaned up so we can tear it apart, rebuild it. Overall, it's fairly easy to remove. The one thing I did forget when I started was the linkage coming in from the cab. So there's a pin here. Pull a cotter pin out one side, slide your pin through, and it'll disconnect it. So I'll detail when I put it back in a little bit more so we can see, just because I wasn't sure. Never pulled one of these out before on this. Alright, so we got it all cleaned up. Put some degreaser on there. Pressure washed it. Now just going to take dipstick tube off. Some kind of a solenoid actuator there. The stuff on the outside I'm going to take off and make it easier to maneuver. I don't have to worry about busting a sensor. So I'll pull these out. It's all going to get thoroughly cleaned and inspected. So then I'll start tearing it down. Try to record as much as possible. Just get it on. Okay, so I removed the 4 bolts for the pump. I believe that's the pump. And then there's 2 bolts here and here to hold this front section of the housing on, and 3/8 16-point socket is what worked well. Number 10 3/8 or number 10 through 16-point might work as well. So now I can just slide the pump off, and I believe my kit came with a new pump, but put it there. See if I can do this one-handed. I might not be able to. Okay. Slide this off. See a bushing in there. See how that looks. So pull that off, and then we got this in here. It popped. There's some little tiny springs behind it. And then there's some guides, and I'm thinking that's where these little grooves line up. So we'll put that there. You can see we got those 2. We'll get some clutches. Some tiny springs. So I'm going to get a magnet, pull these springs out so I don't lose any. And we'll start pulling it apart. See what we got. These first set of clutches out. Friction plates, steels. And really they don't look bad. Little spot there, but I wouldn't think that's going to cause any damage. Not sure. I'll pull out the new pump and compare it to this one, but it's got some casting flaws, it looks like, but I might see about taking it apart once I get it all together. Get the rest of the old one on, I'll take that one apart, but this is all we can pull out from here. So I'm going to flip it over and probably got to take off the back section so I can pull the, I'm guessing this shaft might go all the way through, so I got to pull it from the rear, or take the yoke off from the rear. So let me get to that one. Okay, just to keep you updated, pulled my yoke bolt off, nut off, and just tap this yoke right off. So they right off just fine. And then I used this, just put it right there, and was able to pop it right off the back housing here. So that's that. We got the yoke, that part. Now we're at the back of the transmissions. Look like that. We'll go to the front, and I think the drone's gonna come right out. Yep. So that probably would have come out without me taking the backside off, but needed to anyways. So another set of, well, you can't see it, but another set of, I'm going to take this drum apart first, just so you can see. There's a snap ring. I'm going to pull that out and see, take a look at it and see if we can get it apart. There's a wear washer, thrust washer. The kit should come with all new ones of those, so it's crazy. Lots of metal pieces, so glad I got a new piece of these. We're going to pull out. These are your clutch discs. Try to pull them all out together. Yep. So this is the friction plate.
What does a friction plate do?
So pressure builds up and it allows it to either go forward or reverse. Besides metal shavings, they're not as bad as I thought they would be. See how it's wore there.
Got it turned off.
It's okay, it's still running. See, this one's completely gone. See, this is what we're looking at. You compare this one, this isn't worn that bad, to this one where it should look like that. And it's all wore down. Pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah.
That's a metal one, so that's supposed to be steel. So yeah, she's worn down pretty good.
So what do they do?
And then we got the gear. This is what drives it forward or backwards.
I need a water bottle.
See if we can get this up.
This is mine. Oh, sorry.
This is just something for the clutch plates to run against.
So,
Okay.
what is this?
This is what drives everything, so it's what they call the drum. Everything, depending on which way it pushes,
Is this oil?
yeah. Got metal chunks in it, be careful. Depending on which way, if you want to go forward, it pushes pressure against one set of clutches, and if you want to go backwards, it puts pressure against the other set. I'm just checking for damage. See the metal chunks in there? See, Jenna? Right there. So that's what I'll get cleaned out real good.
I haven't recorded, so I don't know how to do it. I guess it's a fingerprint. I feel a fingerprint on the camera.
Alright, go ahead and pause it. Ooh, look at that.
How do you pause it?
Push the button on top.
So you can see this piston has been damaged quite a bit. The O-ring around the outside ring of it actually was pushed out on a section. So not sure what caused it. Lots of debris, so I'm going to have to order a new piston. Because something chewed it up pretty good. I'm guessing the pieces from where the pressure plate inside came apart to probably 8 or 10 different pieces that kind of threw around inside that piston and gear area. I'm also going to have to order this gear. You can see, hopefully the camera makes it out, the damage inside that gear. So the kit didn't come with this. I'm going to have to order those 2 items for sure. And then I'll press a new gear onto the shaft and we should be able to put it back together. But yeah. Thanks for watching.